We strongly condemned the terrorist attack on the 7th of October last year, but at the same time, we strongly condemn the way Israel reacted, basically by starting a collective punishment of the Palestinians. I discussed with some Israeli colleagues this issue, and well, not even in the, I think publicly, either the Minister of Defense or some other official from the cabinet, when asked why don't you take measures, so that you prevent the damage to civilians, peaceful citizens, he said there are no peaceful citizens there in Gaza. As of the age of 3, they are all terrorists. And with this philosophy, and when Antonio Guterres condemned the terrorist attack and then added, but it did not happen in a vacuum. You remember what Israeli reaction was? The former ambassador demanded that Guterres resigns. Eventually, he was declared persona non grata. Unbelievable. And I don't think Israelis are doing good for their own interests, because this notion that they are terrorists when they reach the age of 3 years, well, this is, of course, the figure of speech, but for almost 80 years, generation after generation is growing in the situation of occupation and the situation of blockade. And of course, the parents and the teachers at school, they explain the history of the Palestinian people and what happened in 1948. So unless Palestinian state is created, which was, by the way, a precondition for the creation of Israeli state, unless Palestinian state is created, extremism would be breeding and breeding and breeding in the region, there is no doubt. And just to say that we will exterminate all Hamas members, I don't think it's a serious pledge.
Have you spoken to your Syrian counterpart in recent hours, or any other senior Syrian official, and how worried are they? How worried are they about the situation? They've lost a lot of territory.
Well, we are not in the business of checking who is worried and to what extent. We're in the business to try to help with diplomatic means to stop bloodshed and to make justice prevail. In this particular case, justice is Resolution 2254. The other authors of this resolution, including the United States, confirmed to us that they continue supporting this process as described in that resolution, and we hope that these promises and assurances would materialize soon. The reaction has been public, repeatedly stated. It's inadmissible to allow the terrorist group to take control of the lands in violation of agreements which exist, starting with the UN Security Council Resolution 2254, which strongly reiterated sovereignty, territorial integrity, and unity of the Syrian Arab Republic, which condemned any attempts by terrorists to disturb the life of Syrians, and which called for direct dialogue between the government and the opposition group were listed in that resolution. In 2000, if we speak about Hayat Tahrir al-Sham specifically, in 2018 and 2020, in the framework of Astana format, 2 agreements were signed, clearly solidifying the common resolve not to allow Hayat Tahrir out of Idlib, and these agreements have not been implemented. Now they are grossly violated. We strongly reiterated territorial integrity, sovereignty, and unity of the Syrian Arab Republic. We called for immediate end of hostile activities. We stated, all of us, that we want the Resolution 2254 to be fully implemented, and for this purpose called for the dialogue between the government and legitimate opposition, as provided in that resolution. The main thing is not to say something new. The main thing is implement everything to which you sign up. It is not our fault that the biggest trend of the modern world, namely the fight against those who want to keep hegemony, and on the other hand, those who would like to live in a free world where the United Nations demand to respect sovereign equality of states, is really implemented, be it BRICS, be it Shanghai Cooperation, be it Gulf Cooperation Council, ASEAN, and many others. So the fight of these two worlds, one phasing out and another one emerging, is not going without clashes. And the conflicts which were adventures, aggressive adventures which were launched by the US and its allies in Iraq, Libya, Palestine, because the behavior of the United States on what is going on in Palestine is absolutely unacceptable, invading Syria, all this is the repetition of the old, very old habit to create some havoc, some mess, and then to fish in the muddy waters. And the Middle East and Europe is not enough already. The NATO, under the United States command, pronounced last year at the summit that the security in Euro-Atlantic is indivisible from the security in Indo-Pacific region. So they already eye the entire Eurasian continent, including South China Sea, Strait of Taiwan, the Korean Peninsula. They are creating NATO-like military blocks. NATO infrastructure is being promoted to the region. This is a reflection of attempts not to allow the hegemony to phase out. But this is a fight against history. We are very much sorry for the Syrian people who became a subject of another geopolitical experiment. We are absolutely convinced of inadmissibility to use terrorists like Hayat Tahrir al-Sham to achieve geopolitical purposes, as it is being done now with the organization of this offensive from the Idlib de-escalation area. But you know, what we do in the world, maybe the mentality is different. The Americans, for them, I know them very well, for them what is important, how they are perceived. And they always want to be perceived number one. When they tell something, everybody must say, yes, sir, whatever Uncle Sam decides. In our case, it's not about being concerned with the impression we make on the people. We do things in which we believe. And if we could help, since 2015, could help to keep the Syrian state apart, if we could organize the process with Iranian and Turkey colleagues, which is called Astana process, and we met today, as you mentioned, this in itself was a very helpful process. Nothing goes smoothly in world diplomacy, but the events which we are witnessing today, they are clearly geared to undermine everything we have been doing during those years. Of race, gender, language, or religion. In Ukraine, since 2017, 5 years before the special operation started, they passed legislation, piece by piece, exterminating legally Russian language at all stages of education, in media. Russian TV outlets were closed. Ukrainian TV companies who were broadcasting in Russian were closed. They were storming libraries and throwing out books in Russian language, like Hitler did. And then recently they passed a law prohibiting the canonic Ukrainian Orthodox Church. thus violating the Article 1 of the Charter, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of language or religion. Our Western brothers and sisters, who on any occasion, on something which is happening in any part of the globe, including Antarctic, with penguins and others, put human rights on top. They never mumbled human rights in relation to Ukraine, whether a racist regime has been breeded by them. So those are the root causes, and I hope the people who sincerely interested in promoting some solution and would be drafting some initiative would concentrate on the things which I mentioned, including, of course, non-NATO situation, because NATO wanted to create a stronghold in Ukraine with the plans to build naval bases on Sea of Azov and on the Black Sea. They were eyeing Crimea, and when all this was stopped, you see, the reaction is really hysterical.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like our videos and hit the bell icon to stay updated with the latest.